Welcome back to the show. Host Erin A. joins us again to talk about her interview with Rob Johnson, president of the Institute for New Economic Thinking and senior fellow at the Roosevelt Institute. Erin, what are some of the pressing issues on Rob's agenda?
You know, I have to say, Ed, Rob was a great interview today. I had a lot of fun with him. We had a really nice time. And obviously, he's from the New Economic Institute. So, you know, how to change economic thinking about inequality. That's what he said. How to change economic thinking about inequality. That's number one on his issue of things that he wants to talk about and take away from Davos. And also, he wants to inspire people that the economy is made up of human beings. Now, this is really important to him, and I found it interesting as well, because Rob believes that human beings are very powerful in their makeup of the system that is the economy. Without the economy, you don't have human beings. Without human beings, you don't have the economy, and they have to work as a cohesive unit. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Well, I think I'm supposed to export those concepts and ideas. This is a perfect platform for me to try to change new economic thinking, so I don't come here with large expectations that they're going to inspire me. It's my job. But there are fascinating and interesting people in all walks of life. Whether they're willing to stand up and make a public pronouncement, they still have tremendous imaginations and they have a lot of experience. So it's a very nourishing environment. For me, number one, to take the temperature of where conventional wisdom is, and number two, where power is unsettled, and number three, for me to distribute some of my own provocations.
Rob, now a lot of people who are here are the people who were actually blindsided by the last financial crisis. And quite frankly, our economic models and our economic gurus, they pretty much failed us. So why should we trust that any sort of tangible thinking about the next financial crisis or the global economy in terms of, you know, things like political conflict and oil and climate change, why should we think that the people here are going to be able to call it right this time?
What I would say is that at Davos, you have a constellation of people with responsibility for political power, corporate power, or financial power. They have a yearning to understand reality. They had what I would call very bad maps in 2008, and they hit the rocks because their maps didn't give them good guidance as to how to navigate the shoals. The map regeneration process may not be theirs to produce, but they are part of the conversation about getting back on course. Sometimes, though, when you're off course because you want to be fed that you're doing well, or you want to be fed that you have to deregulate finance, and you have to face the contradictions in order to make progress. That's often harder to do. I always talk about the three corruptions of economics. One is what you might call payola. You get paid to do marketing rather than do analysis. The second is what I'll call the corruption of omission. Powerful people can hurt you if you object to them, so you tend to stay quiet. Anthropologists will tell you that the way to study power in a society is to understand the contours of the silences. The silences reveal what's not said, and that's the clue to where power is. The third one that I think is very, very problematic is a yearning for order, what you might call the corruption of false precision. Demagogues tell you they have a clear crystal ball, or they have a model, or they're scientific, and a lot of it is theater, a lot of it is malarkey, a lot of it's what they call a confidence game. Pretending that your tools and your methods make you more sound is belied by experience. And most really good economists know that econometric models pretend that society is stationary.
Now, let me give you two examples of non-economic pressing issues right now. The first one, we have Ukrainian President Poroshenko, who's making an appeal to the people here at Davos for more money for a bailout. He got $17 billion back in April. So my question to you first is, will he get it?
Well, my sense is a lot of continuity in Europe is at stake right now. And the question is, do you have to play tough with the Russians, or do you actually try to bring them back into the fold of Europe? There's a lot of woundedness that people don't recognize. The pride of the Russian people with the collapse of the Soviet Union, even if they say the system was bad or this or that, they're still a proud people. So now to come back and be isolated and having Ukraine brought into Europe perhaps exacerbates the tension, the threats, and the possible use of military power. So I would say bringing Russia back closer is probably better than playing tough. But sometimes you got to play tough for a while in order to bring people to the table. With regard to the Ukraine, I think Europe needs to do some restructuring and expansion They've been stuck in austerity for far too long. A great place to start is with the Ukraine, but I am mindful. German, Dutch, and other powers will tell you the Ukraine has wasted the money they've been given in the past because of rampant corruption. So there is some structural things that have to be done in the Ukraine, some of which seem underway, so that they can use that money productively to rebuild their society.
Yemen has just suffered a military coup in the region of the world where terrorism and kind of radicalized thinking, that it's an incubator for such. So will the Middle East leaders in Davos leave Davos with any sort of actionable plan? Or is this an issue that won't be resolved? Are we going to have to wait to see some sort of resolution down the line?
This is a very, very deep conflict. And while people can see the contours of the conflict and contours of the problem, going back to Nixon or Jimmy Carter or whatever, they try and try and try and things come unstuck. So I don't see the Middle East as on the cusp of a resolution. I see it as a work in progress with a lot of work to do.
What are the most pressing issues on your agenda here at Davos, and what do you plan to get out of Davos in regards to those issues?
The most pressing issues on my agenda are about how to change economic thinking about inequality. Inequality has causes, it has consequences, and once identified, it has prospective remedies. There is an urgency, I believe, because of social instability all over the world rising, to address inequality. This is a powerful group of people. At some level, are they going to recognize it? I think the answer is yes. A lot of very wealthy and powerful people are quite afraid right now. They see us on an unstable trajectory. They don't see our political institutions being what you might call representative, responsive, and pulling things together. Powerful people can escape the clutches of the government, meaning their company or they themselves don't have to bear the burden. They don't have to pay more taxes or whatever. But as the system doesn't have proper resources, as it doesn't represent people, things are getting more and more dangerous, as, say, Ferguson, Missouri brings to bear. The second thing I want to accomplish, not just at Davos, but all the time, is to inspire people to realize that the economy is a human project. Human agency looms much, much larger than the mechanical models of economists suggest. They act like it's just inevitable, get out of the way, and if you try to intervene, you're going to be inefficient. I don't believe in a divine order called the market. I believe human beings with ideas, reputation, cultural norms, things like gender and race and other things are very, very powerful in the makeup of what is the economy, and a lot of that could change in a much more healthy direction and ameliorate some inequality at the same time.
That was Aaron Aid with Rob Johnson, president of the Institute for New Economic Thinking, and that means it's time now for today's big deal.